Movies, like ogres, have layers. That means that no matter how attentive you are, you will miss stuff on your first, second, or even 15th viewing. And some of the things you miss are creepy as hell. So with that in mind, I'm Ellie for Whatculture, and here are 10 creepy movie moments everyone missed. Number 10. Lily was born in Area 51, Pitch Perfect 3. The undeniable oddball of the Pitch Perfect franchise is the soft-spoken Lily, whose most peculiar claims include having been born with gills, setting fires to feel joy, devouring her own twin in the womb, and professing to know where the Bard and Bellas can see a dead body. Lily's weirdness is normally played for off-kilter laughs, culminating in the third film having Lily reintroduce herself to the Bellas as Esther, while proudly stating that Satan has finally left her body. But there's a blink and you'll miss it shot earlier in the movie which seems to tell the actual story of Lily's origins. On a fleeting glimpse of her passport, Lily's place of birth is listed as Area 51, Nevada, quite explicitly implying that she is, in fact, an alien. Sure, you can call it a jokey Easter egg all you like, but it would certainly go away to explain Lily's increasingly weird and, in retrospect, hella creepy behaviour. Number 9. Xenomorph hiding in plain sight, Alien. Ridley Scott's Alien is one of the most terrifying and suspenseful films ever made. And though there's debate over whether the theatrical version or the director's cut makes for the superior viewing experience, the latter includes one incredibly sneaky shock that likely passed you by. While Brett is searching the supply room of the Nostromo for the ship's Cat Jones, there's a shot of him looking upwards towards the rigging and chains suspended above. Ingeniously, for a moment, keen-eyed viewers can spot the Xenomorph nestled among the chains waiting to pounce, though given that the scene was shot in incredibly low lighting conditions, it's extremely tough to catch. For first-time viewers who won't even know what the Xenomorph looks like yet, it's practically impossible to notice. But the moment you do realise, it's utterly spine-tingling. Number 8. The secret Morse code message, King Kong. Peter Jackson's spectacular 2005 remake of King Kong was a clear labour of love, and one which the filmmaker filled to the brim with hidden details, from homages to the original 1933 film to this rather unsettling secret message. When director Carl Denham and his crew are sailing to Skull Island, you might remember that Captain Engelhorn receives a Morse code message informing him that there's a warrant out for Carl's arrest due to him defying studio orders to stop production. However, the Morse code that we actually hear in the movie doesn't say that at all, but rather the eerie message, "Show me the monkey." While on one hand this is clearly a tongue-in-cheek Jerry Maguire reference, it's also immediately unsettling to those few Morse code literate viewers among us, considering it occurs before King Kong is ever seen on screen and is received from an unknown source. Spooky. Number 7. The Masturbating Hogwarts Monkey, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. As a general rule of thumb, it's smart to keep sexual content out of family-friendly entertainment, though nature occasionally finds a way regardless, as was the case with Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. When Professor McGonagall is conducting a class at Hogwarts, those who pay close attention to the left-hand side of the frame might notice a monkey in a cage who happens to be pleasuring himself while McGonagall is talking. It wouldn't be quite so eerie if director Chris Columbus didn't immediately cut from a clear shot of the monkey playing with himself to reaction shots of the class, including Harry, Hermione and Ron, as if to hammer the awkwardness home. I bet this wasn't what you were expecting when you clicked on this video link, was it? Or maybe it was. That's okay too. Number 6. Peter's dead dad's foot is attached to Mr. McGregor's keyring, Peter Rabbit. 2018's live-action Peter Rabbit movie offered up an excessively dark fate for Peter's departed father. It's mentioned at the start of the film that Peter's dad was killed and eaten in a pie many years earlier by the grumpy farmer, Mr. McGregor. Mr. McGregor eventually dies of a heart attack and his great-nephew Thomas soon arrives to value the estate he's inherited. When Thomas uses Mr. McGregor's Land Rover later on, there's a brief shot of Thomas's hand turning the car key, which appears to have a rabbit's foot attached to it. Given that the rabbit's foot is clearly the same colour as Peter's father's fur, which we briefly see in a picture at the start of the movie, the sick implication is that Mr. McGregor kept a sadistic souvenir after killing Peter's dear old dad. That's very messed up for a movie that's aimed at 5-year-olds. Number 5. Orange's foreshadow death, The Godfather. Admittedly, this is a relatively well-circulated cinematic factoid at this point, but it's also fair to say that very few people actually noticed it of their own accord. In Francis Ford Coppola's epic crime masterpiece, The Godfather, oranges appear to frequently foreshadow death. For instance, before studio head Jack Waltz ends up with a horse's head in his bed, a bowl of oranges are visible on the table. An orange is also seen in a fruit bowl when the five families meet before they're all wiped out by Michael Corleone, and of course Vito dies of a heart attack while eating an orange in his garden. Who said fruit was good for you anyway? On the film's DVD commentary, Coppola confirmed that the symbolism wasn't intentional at first, but they leaned into it for the sequels. He said it started out as an accident, but once we realised we had used oranges so frequently in the first movie, we used them purposefully in the others. And so, Michael ultimately dies at the end of The Godfather Part 3 with an orange slipping out of his hand, placing a disturbing capper on one of the most infamously eerie symbolic images in movie history. Number 4. The Gyro Captain's Skull, Mad Max Fury Road. Mad Max Fury Road is a full-throttle, face-melting experience that rarely slows down to actually let the audience feel anything beyond sheer exhilaration, though there are a few subtly creepy moments throughout. Beyond the tribal stilt-walking crowfishers we briefly encounter, there's a fleeting suggestion that one of the series' most recognisable characters met a rather unsavoury end. When Max is tied to Nux's car at the start of the film, a skull can also be seen wearing a distinctive cap and goggles similar to those worn by the Gyro Captain from Mad Max 2. Though the cap and goggles aren't a perfect match for the Gyro Captain's attire, George Miller evidently loves his low-key world building, and so it's unlikely that this was merely a happy accident. Instead, it quite blatantly implies that the character was at some point killed by the War Boys during his travels. Then again, the timeline and continuity of the Mad Max series is so intentionally vague that it's really up to audiences to decide for themselves. Still, the thought of a beloved franchise character ending their life as a blood bag is deeply disturbing, to say the least. Number 3. The Creepy Cameraman, Cars. Pixar movies are well known for their grown-up storytelling above all else, but they also can't resist the occasional urge to sneak some raunchy humour into the mix for good measure. You might remember the unsubtle gag in Cars when Lightning McQueen enjoys twins Mia and Tia flashing their headlights at him after winning an early race, but there's an added layer to the adult joke you probably didn't notice. While the pair are busy talking to Lightning, the green media car behind them records their butts for a few moments while smirking to himself. Now, he's not the only car in the media scrum to suddenly start filming the twins' posteriors, but he's definitely the thirstiest and creepiest one to do it. Though Mia and Tia obviously consented to flashing lightning, they certainly didn't agree to having their asses filmed by the pervs behind them. Number 2. Berts Tshirt counts down to the Olsen twins' 18th birthday, Cabin Fever. Eli Roth's directorial debut, Cabin Fever, is one of the most shamelessly sleazy horror films of all time. A grotesque horror comedy that relishes in its own bad taste, for better and for worse. Case in point, we have the thoroughly detestable loudmouth character Bert, who wears an orange t-shirt with the phrase, "Ripe on the 6th of the 13th, 04, written on it. Though it's easy to watch the movie countless times and never even pay attention to Bert's clothing, this is actually a reference to when the Olsen twins would turn 18 years of age, June 13th, 2004. Given that Cabin Fever was filmed in late 2001, the Olsen twins would have been 15 years old at the time. Obviously, Roth knew exactly what he was doing here. It only accentuates how much of a douchebag Bert already is, even if most viewers actually missed it entirely. Number 1. Gaston faces the Grim Reaper, Beauty and the Beast. Disney's animated version of Beauty and the Beast ends with Gaston falling to his death, and as he tumbles past the camera, we get a close-up of his terror-stricken face. For just a fraction of a second, it's possible to spot 2 skulls in Gaston's eyes, which seems to confirm beyond any doubt that he has indeed met up with the Grim Reaper. This quasi-subliminal image was actually cut from the initial home video run of the movie by a concerned Disney executive after word spread about it during Beauty and the Beast's theatrical release. Thankfully, however, it was restored for every subsequent release, because considering some of the savage imagery that's made it into Disney animations over the years, this is comparatively quite tame. Still, it is intensely ominous in its own way though.